Libra darling, something ancient is leaving your life right now, and with its quiet departure, an unexpected abundance is about to be released into your path. What if I told you that the heaviness you've been feeling wasn't yours to carry? What if today, you finally understood that the silent delays, the sudden emotional weight, and the fear of stepping fully into your light weren't your fault, but the residue of a shadow not born of you? Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not just another horoscope reading. This is a divine transmission, timed perfectly by the universe, to meet you at the very edge of a breakthrough. You didn't click this video by accident, Libra. You were drawn here, because something inside you already knows. The fog is lifting, the chain is breaking, and something sacred is beginning. For far too long, you felt the pull of invisible forces, ancestral echoes, inherited beliefs, soul contracts you never signed consciously, yet found yourself living. You tried to stay balanced. You tried to be fair, to be soft, to be peaceful. But in that effort, you buried your voice. You dimmed your light. You played small to keep the peace. But peace at the cost of your truth is not harmony, it's silence. And now, that silence is being broken. You see, when the soul remembers who it really is, shadows cannot stay. The energetic burden that followed you quietly like a thin mist is dissolving, and in its place, a current of abundance is rushing toward you, richer than you expected, wider than you imagined. Not just financial blessings, Libra. Emotional liberation. Spiritual alignment. Divine relationships. Sacred ideas ready to rise. Your presence here today is the evidence that your soul is ready to step into this next chapter. The heaviness is not a punishment, it was preparation. And now the preparation ends. The blessing begins. Let me take a moment to say this from the heart. Thank you for being here. Truly. Every like, every comment, every subscription you offer is more than a click, it's a sacred thread that weaves you deeper into this soul family. You make this channel a sanctuary of truth and transformation. And Libra, trust me, you'll want to stay until the very last moment of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal through these messages will not only touch your intuition, it will affirm your entire journey. So let me ask you, what did your soul do this week to bring you here, right now? What shadow are you finally ready to release? What abundance do you secretly feel is waiting behind the veil? If your heart feels anything stirring, if your breath just deepened, even slightly, then drop a comment below and write, I am ready to receive what belongs to me. Not for me, for you. To declare it. To mark this moment in your energy field. Because spiritual openings like this are not casual. They're appointed. And yes, I know life gets noisy. But the voice of God still whispers in sacred moments like this. Even in our busiest lives, He finds us. Sometimes through scripture, sometimes through silence, and sometimes through a message like this. Stay with me, Libra. The light you've been praying for is already on its way. Sometimes, what weighs you down isn't yours to begin with. It's not a specific person or a visible experience, it's something woven quietly into the fabric of your existence, inherited not through DNA but through energy. We call it ancestral programming, an energetic lineage passed down through generations, not maliciously, but unconsciously. These patterns aren't written in bold letters. They hide in the phrases we hear repeatedly, in the subtle warnings whispered in childhood, in the choices others made that somehow became part of our internal compass. Things like, don't shine too brightly, or, play it safe so no one gets upset. And perhaps most deeply ingrained, if you want peace, don't disturb the norm. This isn't just about family or culture. In astrology, Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, harmony, and relationships. Your soul came here to bring balance, to seek justice, but in doing so, you may have been taught to sacrifice your own voice in order to keep the scales steady. That sacrifice often comes disguised as politeness, perfectionism, or people-pleasing. But now, something ancient is shifting. The planetary alignments in this season are not asking for your compromise, theory calling for your clarity. Energy doesn't lie. And once you recognize that the beliefs you've been carrying don't match the truth of who you are, they begin to dissolve. That's the miracle of awareness. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, sacred. Like a single candle in a dark room that suddenly reveals how much space was hidden. That light, your light, doesn't need to fight the darkness. It just needs to be remembered and turned back on. What you're experiencing now may feel strange or even unsettling. It can feel like something is falling away, like a part of you no longer fits. That's because it doesn't. That version of you, the one who stayed small so others could feel comfortable, is no longer in alignment with your soul. And as you start to notice these internal shifts, you begin to rewrite your own energetic code. You're not betraying anyone by growing. In fact, when you choose to step out of the inherited limitations and into your full presence, you become a living permission slip for others to do the same. Just as there are daily practices that help nourish the body, like drinking water or resting when you're tired, the spirit also needs daily nourishment. Not through grand gestures, but through simple, sacred pauses, giving yourself permission to say no without guilt, choosing silence when noise no longer feeds your peace, and remembering over and over again that you don't have to earn your worth through struggle. Think of it like releasing an old cloak you didn't realize you were wearing. You don't need to burn it or destroy it. You just need to stop reaching for it. And the moment you do, something else becomes available: ease, lightness, flow. That is what your soul has been waiting for. The divine doesn't rush. It meets you in your stillness, in your willingness to lay down what is heavy. You don't have to prove anything to deserve abundance. You don't have to shrink yourself to be accepted. What's meant for you is already attuned to your light, not to your disguise. And when you choose to remember that, the energy around you begins to respond. Doors open. Conversations shift. People notice something different even if they can't name it. That difference is you, unburdened. You, unmasked. You, finally free to be exactly who you were designed to be. And in that freedom, new blessings begin to rise, naturally and without force. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when keeping the peace begins to feel heavier than honoring the truth. Libra, you know this better than most. As a sign governed by Venus, the planet of beauty, justice, and connection, your heart seeks harmony the way flowers seek light. You're a natural peacemaker, the balancer in relationships, the calm in the middle of chaos. But over time, there can be a cost to constantly holding space for others if you're not also holding space for yourself. That cost is silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that swallows your truth before it can even form into words. And yet, truth has its own rhythm. It waits patiently, but it does not disappear. It pulses beneath the surface, whispering gently until it becomes a thunder that can no longer be ignored. In this phase of your evolution, you're being invited to choose something greater than harmony on the outside, integrity on the inside. Because there is a difference between avoiding conflict and cultivating peace, and the difference is truth. Energetically, when you speak your truth, even quietly, it creates a ripple in your field. It's like tossing a pebble into still water. What follows is movement, not destruction. This is why suppressed emotions often manifest as creative blocks, stalled finances, or distant relationships. The energy that was meant to move freely becomes stagnant. But when you finally give your truth permission to surface, everything starts to breathe again. Opportunities you thought you missed begin circling back. Ideas you once buried reignite with brilliance. Relationships you thought had faded reveal a deeper layer of meaning. Astrologically, this moment aligns with the shifting of your ruling planet through energetically charged transit, shining your 7th house of connection and your 3rd house of expression. Translation: the universe is nudging you to align how you relate to others with how you express yourself inwardly. It's no longer enough to play the role others expect. The role must now be a reflection of your inner clarity. And if that means disappointing someone in order to be honest with yourself, so be it. Discomfort is temporary, but abandoning yourself lasts much longer. As someone who's worked with thousands of clients across energy healing and intuitive therapy, I've witnessed firsthand what happens when a person finally gives themselves permission to stop shrinking for others' comfort. Their posture changes. Their voice deepens. Their creativity returns. Their life shifts, not because they fought but because they chose alignment. You're not being asked to confront the world with fire. You're being invited to meet yourself with gentleness. That's how truth heals. Not through force, but through being seen softly, fully, bravely. And once it's acknowledged, you no longer need to fight for your place in the world. You realize that place was always yours, you just hadn't fully stood in it. This kind of shift doesn't require you to make dramatic changes overnight. It begins in small moments. Choosing not to say yes when you mean no. Admitting to yourself what you really want. Letting go of the guilt that comes with choosing your needs. It's like planting seeds of authenticity in a garden you forgot you had. And when those seeds bloom, you'll find that the world around you rearranges to match your inner clarity, not the other way around. So if you're feeling the pressure to keep up appearances, to keep the peace at all costs, let this be your reminder: your truth is not a threat to anyone. It is a lifeline to yourself. And once you choose to honor it, you'll be surprised at how much life begins to honor you back. Not everything that appears successful is abundant. And not everything abundant is loud, shiny, or easily seen. Libra, real abundance begins when you stop trying to outrun yourself. It starts not from effort, but from permission to stop fighting your own rhythms, to stop negotiating your worth through busyness, and instead, to allow your inner self to lead. You've been conditioned to believe that productivity equals value. But the deeper truth is this: your value was never up for negotiation to begin with. As someone ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty and values, you are here to bring harmony not only to the outside world but within. But harmony does not mean self-denial. You're not here to constantly adjust yourself to fit into other people's stories. You are here to live a story of your own, one that flows with the current of your truth. When you begin aligning your inner values with your outer actions, life becomes less about striving and more about allowing. And it's in that allowance that abundance begins to take root. I've seen it time and again, clients who try everything, work tirelessly, give endlessly and still feel unfulfilled. But the moment they choose to honor what truly lights them up, to say yes to what nourishes their soul and no to what depletes it, things begin to shift. Opportunities come in quietly. Peace returns without being chased. Relationships either deepen or naturally fall away. This isn't magic, it's energetic congruence. It's what happens when your frequency stops contradicting itself. This phase of your journey is not about accumulation. It's about alignment. The universe isn't measuring how many hours you've worked or how much you've sacrificed. It's reading your vibration. And when that vibration comes from authenticity, peace, and clarity, the return is always richer than anything forced through pressure. Even the timing of blessings feels different, smoother, more fluid, less urgent. Consider, for a moment, the difference between surviving and being fully alive. Surviving is reactive. Being alive is responsive. When you're simply surviving, your decisions come from fear of not being enough, not being loved, not being safe. But when you are fully alive, your choices flow from trust. And trust opens doors that fear could never find. You don't need to hustle for abundance, Libra. You need to breathe it in. Recognize that your nervous system needs rest, your heart needs truth, and your energy needs space to recalibrate. The abundance that is meant for you is already encoded in the spaces where you feel most yourself. It's in the conversation that feels effortless, the work that feels like joy, the moment where time disappears and you feel both still and fully awake. That's where your blessings are already gathering. And if you've ever wondered whether the universe will reward your truth, the answer is yes. Not always instantly, not always in the form you expect, but always in alignment with the person you are becoming. Just like rain falls on good soil when the season is right, your blessings arrive when your energy is ready to hold them, not just ask for them. So if life has felt like you're constantly trying to do more, prove more, hold more, pause. Ask yourself gently, what if I stopped striving and started receiving? What if I believed that I was enough, not because of what I accomplish, but because I exist in alignment with my light? You are already abundant. You're just learning how to live in that truth now. And that, Libra, is the real shift the universe has been waiting for. Sometimes clarity doesn't arrive in silence, it comes through disruption. When you begin releasing the old programming, the limiting beliefs, and the energy patterns that no longer serve you, your system can feel unsettled. You might not be able to sleep, not because something is wrong, but because something within you is waking up. You may find yourself withdrawing from conversations or people that once felt familiar, but now feel energetically misaligned. This isn't regression, it's realignment. You are no longer pretending to be who you're not, and that change can feel like a storm before the calm. As someone who has studied energy cycles across astrology, the chakra system, and emotional embodiment, I can assure you this phase is sacred even if it feels messy. For Libra, a sign so attuned to balance, disharmony feels especially jarring. But here's the truth, sometimes, the path to true harmony requires unlearning the artificial kind. The version of peace you've held on to may have been based on compromise, overextension, and subtle self-erasure. Now, the universe is inviting you into a deeper peace, the kind that doesn't require you to betray yourself to maintain appearances. From a cosmic lens, what's happening is that your auric field is recalibrating. Think of it like a garden after a heavy rain. The soil may appear disturbed, the roots may be exposed, but the moisture is soaking in, preparing the ground for something new. Your nervous system is trying to catch up with the expansion of your spirit. And that expansion brings light to the places in you that have been dimmed or denied. It's not chaos, it's cleansing. This is also why, in moments like this, life has a way of stripping away what no longer fits. A job, a friendship, a belief, even a routine. Things may fall away not as a punishment, but as preparation. You are being cleared, not emptied. And when you stop trying to glue back the pieces of your old identity, space is made for the new blessings to take root. I've worked with many clients who, during this stage, report a strange blend of exhaustion and clarity. It feels like being tired but knowing deep down something important is happening. And that's because it is. When your inner world no longer matches the outer performance, the body responds. Fatigue, emotional waves, restlessness, these are signals of integration. You are no longer living from the outside in. You are turning toward the truth inside of you, and that act alone shifts your entire energetic field. There's a beautiful pattern I've seen repeated in both spiritual and psychological transformation. The storm always comes before the stillness. And if you think of your life like a canvas, you'll understand that some lines must be erased before the true image can emerge. Don't rush through this part. Don't label it wrong. Let it be what it is, sacred undoing. And as hard as it may feel, there is grace woven through every moment. This is the time to slow down and listen deeply, not just to your thoughts, but to your body, your breath, your gut feelings. This is not about pushing through. It's about allowing your system to release the old with compassion. No spiritual growth worth keeping ever comes without a little discomfort. But it never comes without support either. So if you find yourself in the middle of this inner storm, know this: you are not lost, you are not broken, and you are not falling apart. You are shedding. And when the dust settles, what remains will be you, real, unfiltered, and ready. The blessings that have been circling your field are simply waiting for your inner world to make space for them. And that space is being formed right now, in the sacred chaos before the breakthrough. There's something sacred about a moment when a soul decides it's done apologizing for its own light. Libra, you are standing at the edge of such a moment now. And what makes it so powerful isn't that the world is finally ready to see you, it's that you are finally ready to be seen, without flinching, without shrinking, and without needing to explain yourself. When you stop waiting for external validation and begin choosing to honor your own radiance, the energy around you begins to reorganize. This is not just a metaphor. It's a real shift in your vibrational field, and the universe responds to it with precision. You are not being asked to shout or prove anything. This isn't about noise. It's about presence. The kind of presence that comes from someone who knows who they are and no longer seeks permission to be it. When you declare to life that you are ready to show up as your whole self, with flaws, with brilliance, with depth, you unlock doors that were never really locked, just waiting for you to claim them. As an astrologer and energy guide, I've seen how certain transits come into your life like holy invitations. And what you're walking through now carries that signature. It is less about destiny coming to find you, and more about you stepping into the frequency where destiny recognizes you. For Libra, ruled by Venus, your magnetism is already a gift. But now, it's being refined. No longer used to maintain appearances or pacify others, but instead as a vehicle for deeper truth, creative power, and emotional intimacy. You were never meant to hide behind politeness or perfectionism. That was just survival. This phase is about thriving. About speaking your value aloud, not because you're arrogant, but because you finally understand the cost of silence. And yes, there may be people who are uncomfortable with your glow, but their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to stay anchored in your authenticity, even when it makes others shift. That's leadership. That's what real light docet transforms by simply existing. I often think of this moment as the point where surrender meets certainty. It's not about forcing a breakthrough, it's about choosing alignment. Alignment with your values, with your gifts, and with the life you know deep down you were meant to live. Not a life of emotional negotiation or spiritual compromise, but one rooted in ease, clarity, and quiet confidence. When you say yes to that version of yourself, even in small daily ways, you emit a frequency that attracts blessings not as random luck, but as rightful return. And I want to gently remind you, blessings don't always enter loudly. Sometimes they tiptoe in when you're doing something ordinary, when you're resting, when you're finally not trying so hard. They find you because you're no longer hiding. They find you because your yes becomes magnetic. And that, Libra, is the miracle in motion right now. So ask yourself today, what does my light look like when I no longer filter it through fear? What would it feel like to wake up and not owe anyone a version of myself that isn't true? What would shift if I finally believed I was enough, not someday, not once I prove it, but now? If those questions stir something in you, then you already know the answer. You're ready. And if your heart whispered yes, write it down. Say it out loud. Leave a comment that says, I choose to live from my soul. I release the shadow and receive abundance. Because sometimes, declaring it is the final key. And once you do, the gate doesn't just open, it welcomes you home. Libra love, what you've just moved through isn't just a message, it's a realignment. A return to what's always been inside you, waiting patiently to be chosen. You are not just healing for yourself. You're healing for your lineage, for the ones who came before you and never had the tools, and for the souls who will come after you, looking for a map of light you now carry. That's not just purpose. That's legacy. And legacy doesn't begin in some far-off future. It begins with the choice you make today. You no longer need to wait for someone to hand you permission to step into your power. You are the permission. You are the light bearer. You are the one your ancestors dreamed of when they hoped someone down the line would be brave enough to break the cycle and begin again. Can you feel that truth in your body? That gentle pulse saying, this is real. This is me. Let it sink in. You don't have to be perfect, Libra. You only have to be honest. You don't need applause to be valuable. Your value is inherent, and because you believe it, others will follow. You don't need to earn your worth through exhaustion, self-sacrifice, or pretending to be less. You're already worthy, already radiant, already whole. And that knowing? It changes everything. So I want to ask you something gently, but seriously. What are you ready to release today, now that you've remembered your light? What version of you are you willing to step into without fear, without waiting for everyone to be okay with it? And how will you honor this activation not just by listening, but by living it? If you feel this message in your soul, I invite you to anchor it right now. Speak it. Write it in the comments. I am the light. I remember who I am. I choose to live from that light. There is something powerful that happens when we speak what we believe. You claim it. We become it. And if you feel called, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and leave your heart print below. Every like, every share, every kind word you offer here ripples outward into a collective field of awakening. It allows this work, this truth, to reach those who need it most. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this light circle. You don't just support this channel, you co-create the energy it carries. Remember, transformation doesn't always feel like fire. Sometimes, it's quiet like breath. Sometimes, it's the soft decision to stop hiding, to stop running, to stop trying to be someone smaller than the truth. And the moment you choose that stillness, that rooted, radiant presence, you've already stepped through the gate. The gate of becoming. The gate of your divine abundance. So as we close, take one last breath into your heart. Let this message become more than words, let it become a new frequency in your life. Because the universe is already responding to the version of you who showed up fully today. Trust that. Rest in that. Walk with that. And until we meet again, may your light be steady, your truth be soft, and your abundance arrive in ways beyond your imagination. I'll see you in the next video, where even more miracles are waiting just for you.